the good and the bad, and nothing else. We like to attach labels to people. Everybody does it. People do it instinctively in respect of someone who they have just met, someone they have read about, a person they have known for a long time, or someone they have seen on television, for instance. It is rare for someone to say that they do not have a view or an opinion about someone. Examples might include, he's a dependable chap, always there when you need him. He's a funny-looking fellow. She is very catty. She is stunning-looking. A complete attention seeker. A genius musician. Really annoys me. I don't know what it is, but he does. All various views about different people. Those are just classifications based on looks and personality. One can classify somebody by race, religion, birthplace, occupation, gender, and so much more. Labels are used all the time as people are placed into boxes and compartments. Our kind do the same, but we differ in a fundamental way. We have an instant classification of people, which is very straightforward. We will place people into further categories. After this initial categorization, often using labels you would not, and then we may well attach additional labels similar to the ones you use. What is this initial categorization? It is simple. A person is either good or bad. That person is either with us or against us. They either do what we want or they do not. There are no ifs and maybes about these classifications. There is no grey with us when it comes to deciding into which camps somebody should be placed. You are either white or black. You cannot be light grey, mid-grey, or dark grey. We do not do the middling. It is one or the other. Let me give you some examples of those around me at the current time. My boss, good. My mother, bad. Paul, a lieutenant of long standing, good. Andrea, my predecessor primary supply, bad. My sister Rachel, good. My colleague Eric, good. A further lieutenant, Tanya, good. Leslie, a former girlfriend, bad. Elizabeth, a litigious former girlfriend, bad. Philip, another lieutenant, good. Colin, a competitor at work, bad. Not one of them am I indifferent to. You should be aware that this categorization is based on my view of them, irrespective of their behavior towards me. Leslie, a former girlfriend, for instance, responded to a Hoover a little while back, and still messages me with pleasant comments from time to time. I play along, as I am far from finished with her, but she is a bad person in my eyes because of what she has done. Moreover, I know that she is secretly looking for an opportunity to unseat me, and seek some form of revenge over me, as a consequence of my repeated thwarting of her ambitions. I know her game. These categorizations are fluid. In fact, they are extremely fluid with some people. This is usually our intimate partners who are our primary source of fuel. You may begin as a good person when I wake up, but by breakfast you are a bad person. Sometimes you will be utterly unaware of why your status has altered, and it may appear capricious and arbitrary, but in our eyes it is not. You will have done something, or failed to do something, which has shifted your classification. More often, it is linked to your failure to provide me with fuel, and therefore you will be designated a bad person and subjected to treatment in accordance with such a status, devaluation and denigration. Conversely, one can also move from bad to good in the blink of an eye. You won't necessarily realize why this is, but we do. It is entirely logical to us. As I mentioned earlier, once we have classified you as good or bad, we will classify you further, usually linked to the fuel you provide and how under our control you are. After that, we will use similar labels to you, describing somebody as interesting, handsome, and so on. Thus, take Paul, my long-standing sidekick. He is naturally a good person, but I also regard him as a very good source of fuel, a highly reliable source of fuel, and completely under my control, loyal and dedicated. My mother is a bad person. Whilst she is a good source of fuel for her emotional outbursts and temper tantrums, she is only fairly reliable in that regard. I have less control over her. She is a traitor and scheming to dethrone me. She has no concept of loyalty and is actively plotting against me. Thus, while she may provide fuel, the other factors cause her to be placed in the bad classification. I do not consider her to be grey, just because she provides fuel, but cannot be controlled to the extent that I would prefer. Why do we regard people in this manner? Why is it that we cannot take a holistic view of them? For instance, one might suggest that with the ex-girlfriend Leslie, that she at one point was loving, dedicated, and did much for me. Yes, but she became a broken appliance and let me down. She also caused affront to me, for which she must be repeatedly punished. She continues to try to be pleasant to me. Do I not look at this myriad of attributes and factors, plus more besides, and place her on some kind of spectrum between good and bad? No, I do not. Why? Because my need of fuel is such, I cannot have wishy-washy amorphous classifications of people. This person is good. I can rely on them to give me positive fuel and do as I say. This person is bad. I can get negative fuel from them, but I must be careful, as they are plotting against me and seeking to avoid my control. This then enables me to apply my manipulations appropriately. It is also necessary to enable me to maintain my superiority and my concept of self-worth. I need to keep those two aspects alive at all times. If you do not do what I want, you are calling into question my superiority. You are suggesting that I am worthless. Thus, you are a bad person. And I am the person who is admirable and worthy. You are wicked and evil. If you do as I want, you are confirming my superiority. You are submitting to my will. I am full of self-worth, because you are acknowledging this by acting in accordance with my wishes. Deviate from that, and you become a bad person. You will no doubt have learned by now that because we look at the world through a different lens to you, there are many things that you will do, which you will not be aware about, which cause us to oscillate from regarding you as good to bad and then back to good, often in the space of an hour or less. This is all based on how we perceive your compliance to be. During our seduction of you, you are only ever a good person, because you represent that wonderful, potent source of positive fuel which we desire. You represent the prospect of an undimmed source, unlike the bad person we are devaluing and about to discard. You always respond positively to our overtures, our love-bombing, and you give us what we want. Hence you remain a good person. Those who are in our coterie, our lieutenants, and those who form our facade, remain good people. Challenge us, defy us, or even worse, see through us, and you are challenging our need for superiority and self-worth. But you must automatically be designated as a bad person, irrespective of what may have come before. You fail to do what we want. You are a bad person. You then change and do what we want. You become a good person. It is a simple and necessary classifications we utilize. Accordingly, everything is either good or bad with our kind. Admittedly, though, it usually turns ugly as well.